31-year-old Springfield, Missouri man was sentenced to more than 2 decades behind bars earlier this week for fatally stabbing his estranged wife at a national park in 2020. Investigators said that on the 20th of May 2020, Dylan met his estranged wife, 29-year-old Brittany Gorman, at the Buck Hollow access area within the Ozark National Scenic Riverways. While there, they both got into an argument over their 3 children aged 5, 7 and 10, and $2,000 in COVID-19 stimulus funds owed to her. Dylan fatally stabbed her multiple times in the chest before dumping her body in a remote location. The following day, park rangers found Brittany's pickup truck, as well as items at the scene that indicated that she may have been injured. Dylan maintained to both Brittany's family and law enforcement that she was missing and suggested it was due to her drug connections. Later that month, on the 30th of May, Dylan confessed that he stabbed Brittany and led authorities to her body along the Jacks Fork River. Dylan had reportedly planned to kill Brittany for months. Dylan was charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence. On the 10th of May 2022, Dylan pleaded guilty to murder. On the 14th of February 2023, Dylan was sentenced to 21 years and 10 months in prison without the possibility of parole. In a tribute to Brittany, family and friends described her as a stay-at-home mum who truly enjoyed raising her 3 children who meant the world to her. She was full of life with an outgoing personality. She enjoyed listening to music, drawing colours, and doing her makeup. She cherished the time she spent with her family and looked forward to family outings. Her most memorable moments were boating and tubing on the lake. A 36-year-old man from Blue Creek, Ohio is behind bars for allegedly holding his estranged 44-year-old wife against her will and beating her, causing serious injuries. According to the Scioto County Sheriff's Office, on Tuesday the 14th of February, a female victim whose name remains anonymous showed up at the office covered in blood with multiple injuries, asking to file a report. The woman told deputies that Matthew Shepard assaulted her several times with a taser, punched her in the face, and kicked her all over her body. She also said that she was choked twice and had cuts on her hands from a knife. The woman was taken to the South Ohio Medical Center for treatment. According to the sheriff's office, the victim suffered bruising, cuts, a black eye, a broken hand, and a dislocated shoulder from the assault. Matthew was arrested later that day without incident at his home in the 500 block of Township Highway 88, where deputies recovered a taser and a knife that was allegedly used during the assault. Matthew's being charged with assault and kidnapping, and he's held at the Scioto County Jail on a $120,000 bond. The Tulsa, Oklahoma police are investigating a case of suspected abuse and homicide after a woman called to report her grandson had been missing for several years and was likely dead, and that her granddaughter had reportedly been abused. On the 27th of January, the grandmother informed Tulsa police about a missing 11-year-old grandson and said her 13-year-old granddaughter had been living with her since September after her daughter Camille Lewis left the team with her. Her 13-year-old was reportedly skin and bones from malnutrition. Camille allegedly told her mother that her 11-year-old son was dead. The 13-year-old girl told authorities that her mother and stepfather, John Miles, locked her and her brother in separate closets for days at a time without food and beat them multiple times with belts and cords. She said they were forced to use bags and cups as a toilet. She told detectives that she and her brother would often be forced to sleep in a doghouse in the backyard and exercise in very cold weather. John reportedly offered to give the girl food in exchange for inappropriate acts. The girl said that she and her brother started getting abused in November of 2020, and it ended in September of 2022 when she moved in with her grandmother. The girl said that in March of 2021, she heard her mother crying and begging her brother to wake up. She said Camille told her that her brother had a seizure and died, and they didn't take him to the hospital because they didn't want to get into trouble. Camille allegedly told her daughter that John and his cousin buried her brother in a nearby park. The couple began to fear that the grave was too shallow, so they dug him up, brought him back to the house, placed him in a barrel and set him alight, and dumped his ashes in a storm drain. Police arrested Camille on the 7th of February, and she allegedly admitted to abusing the children. She also reportedly said her son had run away 2 years ago and had not been seen since. John was arrested the next day, but he denied the allegations. They're both in custody on charges of abuse and neglect. Their bond set at $600,000. Tulsa police said they're investigating the case as a homicide, but the boys' remains have not been found. Charges could change as the investigation into the matter continues.